Good morning, this is Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. I do have a tutorial today for you. I am working on my list. I have made quite a few of these things. My tutorials for these gift-giving ideas or easy presents are not in order because I've already done 2 other videos that will be coming that I made last week. But this one I was very pleased with, so I'm putting this up as soon as possible. I've made an adult lunch bag in one of my tutorials. Not a insulated lunch bag, a waterproof fabric lunch bag. So that's to come. That is so cute. Really is a very nice little thing. And I've done a placemat also for my for a place with a place for a pocket for the silverware and a pocket for the napkins. Again, that is to come. But today I was going through my list, and quite a few people asked me if I could make an apron. I believe it's almost like an origami. I think they're called Japanese aprons. It's a crossover back apron. Now, I have to say, I didn't make that because I was looking at that, and I was looking at tutorials, and I was looking at videos of that sort of one-size-fits-all apron, and to me, and I know a lot of people have their own opinions, but to me it was a little bit awkward because you have to sort of put it over your head and then put your arms through it, which is fine. Again, very popular, excuse me, very popular on Pinterest, lots of ideas. I think, are they farmhouse aprons or something like that? But I thought, well, a one-size-fits-all, I'm not quite sure about that. Plus you needed a pattern. And I'm trying to do things that I can just show you without buying a real pattern or explaining the process of actually drafting your own pattern. So I have made an apron, and it is for, as who is it, either Rosemary or Marilyn had said, for us full-bodied ladies, plus size. Quite a few of the, which I am, quite a few of the aprons are very small that you would buy, and they would cover just, you know, just a little bit of you. So I thought, well, I am going to make a simple apron that would fit somebody like me who is short and heavier. But also I made my apron and I thought, I don't really want to model it, but I have a model here who's very game, and here he comes. Ian. So this is my husband. And this is my apron that I have made. This is a ticket. He's very game to model it. But I wanted to show you that what I have shown you in my tutorial fits a fairly large man.
Very large.
A very large man. No, not very large. Yes, or a fairly large woman. It's very. This fits me. I did this apron to my measurements. Around my widest part would be my hips, and this on a man, I guess it could be almost like a barbecue bacon, a barbecue bacon, a barbecue apron.
Bacon's nice barbecue.
Yeah. Now I wanted to explain. I didn't, and I say in my tutorial, I did not go to the shop to get hardware for an adjustable neck strap. What I did, if you could just turn around, I did just make it so that it ties in the back. You could just do a knot. I did a bow. But as you can see, this apron, I made the ties long enough to go around the back and then to come back in the middle, to tie in the middle here, in the front. And you like that?
Love it.
Yeah. And pockets large. Well, they're not too large. Okay. Yeah. So I could have made the pockets large if I was making a man's. This pocket fit me perfectly, but as you can see, the way I've constructed it, it's completely. Oh yeah, you can do that. Yeah, I did this pocket for my glasses or a pen. These for whatever, and then I have hemmed all the way around this apron. I've not lined it, of course. There's no raw seams. Now this apron, exactly as it sits here, took 1 yard of fabric, and out of 60-inch wide, like a home deck. This is a Waverly fabric. This is a Waverly, like a ticking. And I just thought it was just apron looking. that's 1 yard, and I only had a piece that large left over. So this is my mannequin, my living mannequin for today, and thank you very much.
Reminds me of England and cricket when I saw
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is like a cricket uniform.
Yeah, is it? I don't know.
Not really.
Not really.
But it's like it.
Yeah,
It reminds me.
Yeah, but it's like almost mattress ticking. It's like a ticking fabric. So there is my tutorial for today.
And red spatulas go very, very well with the black and white.
No, it's blue and white.
Oh, is it blue and white? Okay.
Yeah.
And spoons
Yeah.
for spooning.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
that?
No. so
Okay, well I've got my...
He was going to be clever. Yeah. So this is my oh, it's dirty. This is my tutorial for today. 1 yard of 54-inch wide fabric. So it would be made up beautifully in any home deck fabric. And again, if you wanted to get the hardware to make the adjustable strap, you can do that. I just did it with what I had. 1 yard of fabric and some thread. And yeah, I'm really, really pleased with that. Are you pleased? Are you pleased? No, stop. Are you pleased?
Well, I'll show you how pleased I am.
Okay, so there's my tutorial for today, folks. I hope you like it. As you can see, large people unite. And yeah.
Large, strong people.
Large, strong people. Anyway, okay, see you later. Thank you, my dummy. My mannequin.
Mannequin.
Yeah, mannequin.
In England, they call them dummies.
Yeah, they call them dummies.
Over here, it means something else.
Yeah, it means.
Well, it means
it
me,
means
I
you.
suppose.
Yeah. Apron, I had bought a yard of, was it 54-inch Waverly fabric, just 1 yard, because I'm short, so I'm going to be using the length, 36 inches from the top of my, near like my chest, down to my hem. But if you wanted it longer, or if you just wanted it shorter to like mid-thigh, I want it as long as possible, so I bought the yard. Now what I have done is I had taken a measuring tape, and because I'm full-bodied, and because I'm a full-figured plus girl, I measured from sort of behind my hip bone to behind my hip bone on either side, and allowing a little bit. And I've come up with about 30 inches. And that's the, wrapping around sort of to the back, that's the width I want my, my apron front. Again, because I'm big, most probably some of you thinner people wouldn't have your apron that big, obviously, but because I'm large. So what I'm going to be doing first is I just marked it. I just marked it at the widest point that I want my apron, and I'm just cutting that at the very widest point, because I need this extra fabric here, obviously, for my pockets, my ties, for my apron. So yeah, I have about that much left over. Again, this is just 1 yard of fabric, and I'm large. So here we go. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try, and it will, again, the measurement will be different for you, but I'm going to measure, I'm going to hold this up. And this part here, oh, this is on the fold here. I'm sorry, I didn't explain it. I folded my fabric in half, and this is on the fold here. I didn't put my fabric in half. You saw, I just put it up. This is about 15 and a half, 16 inches from one side. I didn't fold it in half because I have a whole piece left over. I'll try to address that. Now again, because these are stripes, I want my stripes nice and straight there. So Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this up to above my above my chest, where I want the apron to hold, like my my neck hole, where I'm going to put the straps that go around my neck, and then I'm going to measure. I'm going to measure where I want my waist, where I want it to be around my waist. Do I want it down further near my hips, or do I want it around my waist? And then I'm going to just draw I'll cut that first, the width I want up at the top, and then I'm going to draw a circle, just a penciled circle, or a marked circle, or a curve, I should say, a curve, where I want my apron shape to be. Going over to my mirror, and I have found the center. I want to show you the marking. I have found the center of my apron top here, which is right up at the top, up near my chest, where it will be covering. Now, what I've done is I have erred on the larger side. I can always cut down this fabric. I can't add to it. So what I've done from the center point above on my chest to over, I've gone over there. I've gone over, oh, let me see, quite a way. It may or may not be okay. The top of my curve, I've gone over about 7 inches, 7.5 inches or so, 7 inches, okay? And that might be a bit big for the top of my my apron, but I'll see. It might be okay. And then what I have done is I don't know if you can see it here on both sides. Oh, so I made a mark there. So from both, right here, there is a mark which is about my waist height, okay? I'm rather short-waisted. So this is sort of like above my arm, and this is at my waist. I sort of just held the fabric up, and that is at my waist. Now, I want to be drawing from this point over. I want to be doing a curve, a slight curve on my apron here, and that will make like the armhole, and I'm going to do it right in front. So I'm going from my waist where the tags are going to be, and from this part here. I might have to make it deeper when I cut this out. I hold it up. There's my apron without all of the bits on it, without the ties or without the pockets. And then I can see, oh, this might be a bit too big. This might be a bit high. But for now, I'm erring on the cautious side. I'm just going to do one side. I'll use my Sharpie because I'll cut it away. So I'm eyeing from here to here. And I'm just going to do a gentle curve. Like that. Now I might want to make this curve a little bit bigger, but what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to fold it back on right in the middle where my fold is. I'm going to cut. There's my fold. Right in the middle, everything's straightened up, all the lines are all straight, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from this point down to where my waist would be. So I have cut off where I vaguely thought I would have my sort of armhole, and I went to try it on, as it were. And it's big, even though I'm big, it's very big, which is lovely. It's not quite, again, I can always cut away. It's not quite the curve that I want. So I'm going to come down, I was looking at it, I'm going to come down and make more of a curve up to this point. I quite like this point here, but this underarm area to my waist, it wasn't quite as deep as I wanted. And again, this is trial and error for I'm sure there's patterns for an apron, but I think that there looks, to my mind, a little bit better than I want. And there's the beginning of my apron. I really like that. It is big, but I'm big. And now I'm going to figure out with my extra fabric, I'm going to cut out my pockets and my ties. So again, I went to my mirror and I sort of tried it on again. And again, this was a little bit large. So again, I'm just cutting that down. I'm cutting this away. I marked it, that curve. And as you see, it's sort of a trial, for me, it's a trial and error. And that opening is a little bit better. So I have my top opening, and then it comes around to under my waist. My arms come out here. Yeah, so it's coming on. So from the extra piece of fabric I have left over, again, this was my 54 inch, I have marked where I want my three, I have marked my 3 pockets that I'm going to cut out. These pockets measure about 8 inches by 8 inches, something like that, for my 2 down near my hips. And then I'm going to put 1 pocket up on the top of my bit for like a pen or something like that, for a couple pens or something up here. I think I'm going to do that. I've made it big, these pockets large enough so that when I go to construct them, I can just turn the edges around. There will be no raw edges on this pocket. I mean on this apron. I am just going to be turning around edges and top stitching. I'm not lining anything. It's the easiest construction ever. So I'm just going to cut out my pockets, and then I'm just going to cut strips, which I will show you how long I cut my strips for my. I'm going to make some extra long ties for around my waist, around to the back and coming to the waist again, and then my neck tie. And as I was explaining in the beginning, I am just going to be putting 2 ties on around my neck because I don't have the hardware to put on an adjustable thing, but I will have addressed that now. My pockets, and this is what I have left from the top of the rest of my fabric. That's what I have for my pockets, and then it's been able to yield 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3-inch by the yardage 36-inch strips. I've just cut out all the strips for my belt and my ties. I'm not quite sure how long that will be, but I wanted them 3 inches, and I cut out whatever I could, and it ended up I could get 5 out of the remaining fabric. Now, if you had seen, I was cutting. Here's my apron coming on. I've just pinned these on. I have not yet made it. As you can see, I had cut my pockets on purpose the other way of the fabric, because I think that's really, that adds a little bit of interest to my apron. Now I've just pinned these on, and I just went to sort of try it on. I have to bring my pockets down a little bit. You have to figure out on your own torso where you're comfortable putting your pockets. But right now, I just wanted to show you how lovely my apron's coming on. But I did want to, I'm going to go over to my machine and show you how I construct the pockets. And literally, it's just a matter of turning the edges in on all 4 sides. I'm making my pockets, and as you can see, this one was at the top, and if you're wondering, I always have my glasses with me. I can just put my glasses in, or a pen at the top there, and as I said, they are going the opposite way, and all I have done is turned in my fabric there. Now I've sewed it like inside, like a 1/4 inch inside when I stitched it there, because I will be stitching this on tightly to my apron, and I will be doing it on the outside edge. So there you will see 2 rows of stitching. So I think this is how I'm going to do it, and I think it's very easy when you're using a striped fabric. And again, this fabric is from Waverly, and I'm not pressing anything right now because I'm just using this stripe to turn over, and you can see when you have a stripe how easy it is to follow, so that you know your design is going to stay the same. Now, as you can see there, I just turned that over, and I'm coming, just putting my needle down. I'm not going to the very end. I'm turning it because, again, as I said, I will be stitching on the outside edge, reinforcing the very outside edge. But to make the pocket, I'm just sewing on the inside edge. And again, it's about 1/4 inch. Turning it and turning it. And again, with the stripes, you can see I'm sort of matching the stripes up to the stripes, so I'm not all skewed. Then I come down and I turn it over, and I'm just going to catch it there and then turn it. And as you can see, my stripes stay nice and straight. You can make this obviously in a quilting cotton, but the ticking or the home deck fabric is more, I think, more professional, sturdier, and holds up. I mean, sews beautifully. Now, I imagine, I have not pre-washed this, so it probably will shrink because it's cotton, but I've made it generous enough. And then when I wash it, it most probably will need probably a nice hot touch-up, which I'm not bothered. I have my iron out all the time. Now, I am going to just go right off of there. Back stitch, and I have created my 4 pockets. Pockets on, what I have done is I found the fold. I found the absolute center of my apron, and then I've measured over again. By all means, if you have a print, you can measure over with your ruler. I've just measured. I found the line, and I've measured over the line that I'm going to be doing it from. The beauty again of my stripes here, I'm going to straighten that up just a little bit, is as you can see, the stripes are my guiding line, as you can see here, for where I want to put my stitching. I can just keep that really nice. I'm doing both pockets on this. I've measured both pockets on the same horizontal here, but my vertical is I'm just going by my lines over on the bottom of the base of my apron here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to reinforce this pocket top, and I'm at the edge. Remember, I constructed my pocket. I constructed my pocket about 1/4 inch in, but I figure if I have my phone or anything in here, or paper or anything, it's going to be having a lot of wear and tear. So I'm just stitching this right on the edge. And again, I'm using that marker, the line. I know it's nice and straight. Reinforcing my pockets on and keeping my needle down, and then I turn it. Oops, go down just a hair more. 1 stitch more. And then I know this is nice and square. I'm going to reinforce this bottom on. Right at the edge, and then right up again. Back and forth on that. And there we go. Now, if I wanted to, which probably I'm pretty okay with these pockets on here like that. That pocket, yeah, that pocket's on there like that. I could go over my my stitching, my first row of stitching. Do you see that? I could go over that stitching and make it like a double, like a real double enforced pocket. But I know I've put this on nice and tightly, and have no raw edges on anything. So there is my pocket, which that's nice size for me, for my hand. So I'm quite pleased with that. So now I'm going to just go sew this pocket on, and then my little pen pocket up here. My apron's coming along. It's beginning to look like an apron. It's awesome. I have my pocket sewed on. Now I was ready to put I either finish the edges like I did my pockets, and or put my straps on. But what I'm going to do, as I'm looking at this, as I'm figuring it out as I go along, I'm on my top edge here. I have this extra piece of fabric that we had cut our pockets from the 1 yard of fabric. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to make a facing for this top edge. The only reason I'm going to be doing this is, and I'm going to be stitching it down, is I'm concerned, not concerned, I'm not concerned, but there's going to be more wear and tear here, more stretch, I should say, when I attach my my straps. I'm going to be attaching my straps on the inside, but then securing them really, really tightly here. But I wanted to just sort of reinforce this top edge. So from my piece of fabric here that I have left over, let me just see. Again, I'm using the stripes as my guide. I'm just going to cut off, say, that piece there, about that, just a little bit longer, and I'll figure out how I'm going to finish the edges. But I'm going to be sewing this on the top edge of my apron, and then turning it over like that, turning it over, so I have a nice finished, and then I'm going to be hemming it like I did before. So I've hemmed my little facing piece here, and I've stitched it on the top. Now I think by mistake I got something sort of cute. I would normally, facing, you normally turn over onto the seam right there. But So like I said, by mistake, because of the stripe, what I'm going to do, it's going to just lengthen this half an inch or so. I'm going to turn my facing over halfway to that stripe. That'll be my guide. And then look, I have a little bit of interest at the top, and I still have 2 layers of fabric in order on each side here to put my straps on. As you can see, I have stitched, maybe hopefully you can see that, I've stitched right along this, I've turned that over onto the inside, and I've stitched, making sure I'm catching the back. There's just a little bit of a gap there. I mean, a little bit of a fold over. So made sure I caught the back all nice and hemmed. And I've just stitched there. And I've also, you can't really see it, put a little bit of top stitching on the top near that stripe there. I'm so thrilled with that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this off sort of in the way that the curve goes up nice and straight there. And now what I'm going to do is just exactly like I did my pockets. I'll just be careful not to stretch this because this is on the bias. I'm just going to, it'll be super simple on this side because I'm just going to roll that around about 1/4 of an inch and then just keep my stripes as my guide. I'll just stitch that down all the way as I hem my apron. Now on this side, because I just cut it off of the bolt, I'm going to cut off the selvage. Selvages are always woven tighter. You must cut off selvages. You can save them actually. People do a lot of things with selvages, so don't get rid of your selvages. You can make pillows and all sorts of decorative things, but they're woven tighter. So when you go to wash it, the selvage, if it's included in a seam, will shrink worse than your fabric because the selvage edge from the manufacturer is woven tighter. But that's like right there is like a little piece of artwork. You know, you can get them. This one isn't quite as, it just has the 2 colors, but you can get the little dots that have like 5 or 6 colors on them. And then people make things out of selvages. Look it up. It's a thing. So now I've cut that nice and square straight. My stripe is my guide. I'm just going to turn that over. When I get to my curve, I'm going to do the exact same thing, being very careful, just to ease this over on the curve gently and sew that down all the way up at the top. And this is a little bit thick, but I'll sew that down. Probably have to get slightly thicker there, make it a little bit wider, but that will turn over nicely. And then we can attach our straps. I'm starting to hem my apron here. And I'm doing it exactly the same way as I did my pockets. I'm turning this over a bit more than 1/4 of an inch because I want my edges to be slightly heavier and a bit wider. So what I've done is I've turned it over. I'll show you what I've done, and then I'm stitching on the inside. So when I come back, I'm going to do a double row. I'm going to do another row of top stitching on the outside, catching it right on the outside, all the way around. But again, using my stripes, as you can see here, I'm just turning this over and using this dark stripe and that dark stripe as my guide. I know that I'm sewing on the inside of my fabric, but I know that when I turn it over to my outside of my fabric, my stripes on the outside are going to be really nice and straight. So I'm just keeping that as my guide. Obviously, if you're not using stripes, it's no big deal. So there's my guide. Turning it over like that. Now this is when I come to my curved part here. It's not really curved, but it is on the bias. I'm turning that over a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch, as you can see. So I'm just coming up here, just turning it over, and I'm keeping on the inside. Now without pulling it, just sort of laying it over, just laying it. You see how that wants to curve over anyway? That's my first curve, and then I'm just going to come over without, I'm not pulling anything. I'm just laying that curve over. As I said, it's on the bias, and as you see, I'm stitching on the inside. I'm stitching over here, and then I'll come back and I'll sort of top stitch just to make a decorative double row of stitching on the very outside. But I'm just going to continue rolling this shape right around. I have stitched one lot of stitching all the way around, securing my hem here, and now as you can see, I'm on the very outside edge. And again, on this curve here, under my arm, I'm being very careful not to pull it, but it will stabilize it even in the future so it doesn't get a little bit bumpy and wrickled up. So I'm just coming over to, and I'm on the very outside edge, and it just, I think it looks pretty. Coming right to the edge, and then down. And if you can see that, it just is a nice, it's just a nice finished edge there. I've finished all my top stitching of my edges, and it's turned around, it's turned in beautifully. On the top, there's no raw edges at all. It's not pulled out of shape because I didn't pull anything when I was stitching it. Now, I'm going to be now sewing on my side ties here, okay? I could either do the top or the bottom, but I've put the side ties on. Oops! And if you remember, I just cut out from the remaining yard of fabric 3-inch wide ties here. Now, again, this is all personal. If you want your tie to just tie in the back of your apron, then you'll have to what I did, just as you can see. I just folded that in half. I've not made my ties. I'm just experimenting where my tie is going to go, which is my ties are at this edge here. If that is enough, if you're, however long your tie is to tie in the back, then by all means, I'll show you the next step to how to make the ties. But I quite like it to bring my ties around the back of my body and then bring them and tie them in the front here. So that means I have enough fabric. I have I cut 5 of these. I have enough, even with my strap up on the top there. I have enough. I'm just going to join 2 ties here, 2 of these things here, there. I'm going to join them, and then I'm going to make my tie. I'm going to figure out, it won't be that long, it won't be all that, but I'm going to go over to my mirror. I'm going to figure out exactly when I join them how much I can cut off. I've made my tie. I've attached another little bit to my tie to make it longer, and I believe these measure now about 54 inches, my long tie, to go around the back of me and around to the front of me. Again, because I'm larger, you probably, if you're smaller, you won't need as long as tie. So what I've done is I have gone over and I have pressed in this, it's about a 3 inch, is it 3 inches? It's about 3-inch wide strip, and I've pressed it in about 1/4 inch, and then all I'm going to do, I've pressed that very well, again, my stripes being my guide. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it in half. I don't have to pin anything if you want to clip or pin, and just slightly, so I catch it, making sure I catch it. I just keep the top just a hair smaller, just a hair. I don't put them straight right next to each other because I might not catch the bottom. So my top is just a hair narrower than my bottom bit there. And I'm just going to go, I'm going to stitch all the way down here. If you want to see what a 3-inch tie makes, if you want to tie longer, and I use my lighter, and I will adjust that. And again, you might see my stripes in my die. I'm going to go just stitch right down, one side, and then when we come back, I stitch back on the other side. So I'll do both ties. I'm going to leave that raw. I'm going to figure out how to finish it and attach my apron. I finished making my tie here, and I've hemmed the one edge, and I've just turned it in on itself. I've just turned that in, and I've really gone over it. I turned it in twice. I've really gone over it and reinforced that raw edge there. Now I'm going to be attaching it to the side where our curve meets our square there. I have turned in the raw edge just about a 1/4 inch or so, and I want this coming out square off of my apron. I don't want it sort of going down there or up there. I want it to come out square. This here, because we've turned it over twice, could be slightly thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the turned in edge just above that little seam there, just above it. You see that? I'm not putting it toward the end, and I'm not putting it out here. I'm just putting it above there, that turned in seam there. And it's going to show on the other side, obviously, but I can make sort of a squared off feature. So what I do want this sewn on very tightly, obviously, because it's going to get a lot of wear and tear, or pulling, I should say. So I'm going to keep it nice and square on my side seam, my side here. I'm going to come down, and again, obviously the stitching will show on the outside, but it's right under the arm, and I'm okay with it. Oops, right about there. I'm going to turn it towards me. Keeping it nice and square. And then turning it around. And again, the edge is nice and tucked in. Back stitch, back stitch. So now, cut off all of these threads, and as you can see, I'll cut off all of the threads. It's sort of made a sort of a decorative square. So as you can see, I've stitched on my tie, and no raw edges, no raw seams, and that tie is on there tightly. And if you can see, I did just a little X there, so it's made a little bit of a feature of that. And I'm going to go over and I'm going to do the other one. So this is all finished. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach the neck ties exactly the same way. I'm going to make them. There's my strip of fabric. For me and for my husband, who's also can wear this, because we're larger, I'm going to be making these ties about 22 inches, and they can be tied and adjusted for both he and I, with a little bit hanging down the back. But again, you can have, if you see it, you can have an adjustable piece of hardware here if you would want. I don't have that. I haven't gone out to the store to get one. So I'm just going to be tying this in a knot in the back, and I'm fine with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish off my ties. I'm going to attach them on the corner here exactly like I did there, with a little decorative X here, and then nothing raw edge. And finish my edges here like I finished my tie edges right there. So there's no raw seams, nothing on my apron. So I'm going to finish my ties, and then I will be done my apron.